Hi, I'm Luce. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am filming another TBR. If you watched my last video, you'll see it was my April TBR. This one, however, is not a monthly TBR. This is a yearly TBR. So I am going to be going through my potential picks for the Our Fantasy Bingo readathon. Now, if you don't know what the Our Fantasy Bingo readathon is, it is a year-long readathon hosted on the Our Fantasy subreddit on Reddit, and it goes from the 1st of April to the 31st of March. You have 25 prompts in a little bingo board, and I have participated very casually for the last 2 years in this readathon, just not kind of setting a proper TBR, more so just if I read a book that fits into a prompt, cool. But this year I wanted to actually commit. I wanted to actually try and read all the prompts and yeah, just complete the readathon. So I'm going to be going through all the books that I have in place for the readathon. Also, just as a kind of little apology in advance, I, on my monitor right behind my camera, have a League of Legends LCK game on. So if you see my eyes wandering, it is because I am watching that live and I'm interested in this game. So apologies if my eyes are straying over to my monitor. But yeah, let's just get into the prompts. So I'm going to put a little kind of graphic of the bingo board up here just so you can see what it looks like. But the first prompt is Knights and Paladins, so a book where the protagonist is either a knight or a paladin. Now, this one was actually really hard, so I have ended up going with a book that I don't currently own, but I am going to be buying, and it is Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. I have been interested in reading this series for a little bit, and then they came out with these new covers, and I am so obsessed with them. I think they are the most beautiful covers I've ever seen. So yeah, I'm going to be reading this one. I don't really know too much about it. I think it's a more cozy type of fantasy romance. And I saw a Goodreads review where someone was like, oh, if you are sick of, you know, young 20-something-year-olds who have immaculate banter and everything, then pick up this book with middle-aged awkward characters. And I really love the sound of that. So yeah, I'm going to be reading Paladin's Grace. Prompt number 2 is a hidden gem. So this is a book with under 1,000 Goodreads ratings, and they did specify that it can't be a new release or an arc from a popular author. So I'm putting in a new release arc that I have from a indie debut author, which is Morningstar by J.R. Rowden. I have very, very kindly been gifted a early review copy of this by the author Jazz, which I am reading currently. This is a fantasy romance that is very, she said, loosely inspired by The Descent of Lucifer. And I'm only, I think, about 16% of the way through, but I am really enjoying it so far. And I think that this is definitely going to class as a hidden gem. Okay, number 3 was a book published in the 80s, and I had such a hard time finding this. I have books on my TBR. I have quite a lot of them actually that are from the 70s. I have quite a lot from the 90s. But the 80s I really, really struggled with. So the only one that I could really find that I was actually... Ooh. Sorry, I got distracted by the game. The only one I could find that I was actually really interested in was The Colour of Magic by Terry Pratchett. I have never read any Terry Pratchett before, but my uncle loves Terry Pratchett, my brother liked Terry Pratchett growing up, and my dad's partner is currently reading him. So I figure it's time. It's time for me to actually start reading his books. So I know nothing about this book. The only thing I really know about Terry Pratchett in general is that he is quite funny in his writing. But yeah, I'm gonna be giving this one a go. I think this is a good place to start with his books. Okay, number 4 is another one that I struggled with. I don't know what it is with these early prompts, but my TBR was not being accommodating. But it is high fashion. Read a book where clothing, fashion, or fiber arts are important to the plot. And the only one I could think of, which I've already read and didn't really enjoy, was Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. So I was absolutely scouring my shelves. And I found The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang. This is on my April TBR. This is a graphic novel. It is about a woman who makes dresses for the prince. So obviously clothing is involved. I've been in much more of a mood to pick up graphic novels and manga again. I had a bit of a slump with it. I want to read them again, and this one was really popular back in the day on BookTube, so I'm going to be excited to finally get around to reading it. Okay, number 5 is Down with the System. Read a book where a main plot revolves around disrupting a system. And for this one, I'm going to be going with The War of Two Queens by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is a series that I have spoken about before. I have very mixed opinions on it. I love the first book, liked the second one, hated the third one. Loved the first book in the spin-off series, and so I don't know how I'm going to feel about this one, but a lot of this, I would say the plot revolves around, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil anything, but like disrupting the kind of government and systems and just things in place from where our main character Poppy descends from. So I'm going to be reading this one. I really don't know how I'm going to feel about it, but I'm going in cautiously optimistic. Prompt 6 is, in my opinion, by far the hardest one on the board. It is Impossible Places. Read a book set in a location that would break a physicist. So I don't know. I feel like this is slightly, ever so slightly twisting it. But I've gone with Broken by Daylight by Elizabeth Helen. I have finished this book. If you have watched my past 3, I think, TBRs at this point, then you will know that this has been on them. I have finally fucking read it. But this one has a location that is called the Below, and it is essentially another world below the surface, and I think that would break the mind of a physicist, like the way it's described and all of that kind of stuff. I don't know. This is as close as I could find. Like this one really threw me. So yeah, I'm hoping this one counts. I also, spoiler for my wrap-up whenever that comes out, I loved this book so much. Like 5-star, loved this book. Okay, prompt 7 is a book in parts. Read a book that is separated into large sections within the main text. And per the Our Fantasy Bingo rules, you are allowed 1 reread. So I am putting in A Dark Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This is one of my favorite books of all time. And this is, if I can actually find, yep, this is told in parts. It's broken up into sections. So I'm really excited to reread this. I haven't read this series in, I think, about 2 years now, and I am really eager to reread it because I am meeting V.E. Schwab. I'm going to a signing in June. I really wanted to reread this series because it's my favorite series by her, and I really want to get it signed. Okay, number 8, Gods and Pantheons, a book featuring divine beings, and I'm going to be reading The Blood of Hercules by Jasmine Mass. This is about a girl who is the descendant of Hercules. I think that constitutes as gods. I believe there's also other, yeah, Achilles, Patro. So I think it's like a war academy or something for gods or like descendants of gods. I've heard really, really good things about this. I haven't had the best luck with Jasmine Mass. I DNF'd another series by her, but everyone that I follow has loved this book, so I do have high expectations for this one. Number 9 is Last in a Series, and even though I'm in the middle of so many series, I actually struggle to find one that I have only 1 book left in. The one I decided on I'm actually quite nervous to read. It is Brother Song by TJ Klune. This is the last book in the Green Creek saga. This is a series that I adore, but that absolutely destroys me emotionally every time I read a book. I have sobbed, like absolutely wept to every book in this series. But this is a queer werewolf, small town, found family type of vibe, and it is truly one of my favorite series in the entire world. And I have been putting off reading this one because I know it is going to absolutely ruin me, but I think it's finally time. Okay, number 10 is a book club or read-along book, which is a book that was part of the Our Fantasy read-along thing. They have a really big spreadsheet of all the books in it, and this particular book wasn't on the spreadsheet, but the first book in the series was, so I'm going to count it. But it is Jade War by Fonda Lee. This is the 2nd book in the Greenbone saga. I read, when did I read Jade City? I read Jade City a while ago. It might have been like 2 years ago, and I absolutely loved it, but I have been putting off reading the rest of the series for kind of similar reasons to Green Creek. Those titles are too similar. Similar reasons to Green Creek, because this, I have heard, is going to break my heart. Mainly the 3rd book. And the thing is, historically, if you look at a lot of my favorite books, they are really heart-wrenching books. They are books that, you know, create a lot of feelings, like incite a lot of feelings within me, make me sob, and make me really attached to the characters. So I do love them. But I also don't like being in emotional pain. So that's why I've been putting this off, because I know this is going to be like a 5-star all-time favorite series. I'm just a little bit worried for my emotional well-being. Okay, number 11 was A Parent Protagonist, which is where the main character has a child to take care of, but it doesn't have to be their biological child. I've gone with a book that I also really should have read by now, which is Empire of the Damned by J. Kristoff. This is book 2 in the Empire of the Vampire series. The 3rd book is coming out this year. so I really need to get my shit together and read this one. While our main character Gabriel isn't the biological parent of this child, he is the caretaker of this child. And I, again, love this series. Really should have read this book before now. I've been putting it off. It is really thick though, so I think that's partly why. And J. Kristoff's writing, like, I love it, but I know a lot of people don't. I know a lot of people find his writing extremely pretentious, which it is, but I really like it. But it does make the reading process a little bit slower. But listen, I have to read this before book 3 comes out. Like, I have no excuse. Okay, prompt 12 is I hate saying this word, epistolary? Epistolary. Epistolary. That word. It is a book that has to feature something like journal entries, diary entries, newspaper clippings, or footnotes. And again, struggled with this, and I consulted Google for this, and it told me that I could read Emily Wilde because this book has footnotes in it. So I'm counting it. Is there a load of footnotes? No, but it has some. And I don't really have any other books that have footnotes in. So this is the second book in the Emily Wilde trilogy. I have all 3 books now, and I read the first one, I think last year, and really, really enjoyed it. It is a kind of cozier fantasy following our main character Emily, who is researching and creating an encyclopedia of fairies. We also have Wendell, who is working alongside her, and she finds him very annoying, but they are obviously going to fall in love. I really, really enjoyed the first one, and these copies are gorgeous. These are the Fairy Loot copies that I have. Number 13 is a book published in 2025, and I did have a lot of options for this, but I decided to go with the Ragpicker King by Cassandra Clare. I am currently rereading Swordcatcher in kind of preparation to finally read this one, and I feel like if I didn't put this on my TBR for anything, the chances of this kind of being pushed to the wayside were quite high. Because as much as I love Cassandra Clare, I am a Shadowhunters whore, this series isn't quite it for me. I will say I am enjoying Swordcatcher more on reread than I did the first time round, but yeah, this is just like a much slower political type of fantasy than what I was expecting, what I've kind of come to expect from Cassandra Clare in her writing. But yeah, this one I need to read. I really should. I'm getting so incredibly distracted by this game on my monitor. I need to focus. I need to focus. Prompt 14 is an author of colour, and I am going to put Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. I have wanted to read this book since it got announced, I've been interested in this book. And book 3, I think it is, has just come out. So I'm hoping that if I enjoy this, then I can just kind of binge all 3 books that are out. But this one is urban fantasy, and it is in some way related to Arthurian legend. I think it's also some kind of like magic school, and I've heard it compared in some way to Shadowhunters. And like I just mentioned, I am a Shadowhunters whore. So anything that is compared to that, I'm going to be interested in, and I have just heard fantastic things about this series from everyone who's read it. Prompt 15 is small press or self-published, so a book that is either self-pub or from like an indie publisher. And I have got a self-pub book here, which is A Touch of Golden Madness by K.L. DeVore. This one I don't really know too much about, which I kind of want to keep it that way. I feel like this is a book that I'm going to enjoy more if I don't know too much about it, but I did get this one for my birthday, and I have heard that it is a dark fantasy romance, which is kind of my favourite type of fantasy romance. So very excited to read this one. This also, much to my joy, has pretty big font, and it's quite a nice floppy paperback. So I'm excited for just the reading experience of this, like just holding this book and reading it, I think is going to be very nice. Prompt 16 was Biopunk, which is read a book that focuses on biotechnology and or its consequences. This, I didn't really know what I was doing, so I did Google, and apparently this counts, which is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I have this little Chiltern Classics edition. I am not a classics reader at all. I have, I think, 5 classics, and I have read 1 in the last fucking 5 years or something. But Frankenstein is one that has always intrigued me out of all of them. I don't know, apparently it fits the prompt, so I'm gonna give it a go. I'm definitely not gonna be physically reading this. I am gonna be listening to the audiobook. I find that's the only way I can get through classics, because I do get very caught up in the writing and you know, not being able to understand what's going on. This apparently works, so I'm gonna be reading a classic. Prompt 17 is Elves and Dwarves, a book that has elves or dwarves in it, and I'm gonna be reading Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This, I think, has all kind of classic fantastical beings in it, like orcs, dwarves, elves, and I have just heard such good things about this. And while I don't know if cozy fantasy is really a genre for me, I do tend to prefer like my big epic high fantasy or my smutty romantasy, but I want to give it a go. And this one is kind of the most like well-loved one. I do also love this cover. I have the US editions. I hate, don't sue me, but I hate the UK editions of this series. So I did source these from Barnes and Noble because I wanted these. I just think they look so much like, I don't know, they just look like classic fantasy, and like they just look more cozy. I don't know, I love them. Prompt 18 is an LGBTQIA plus protagonist. I had quite a lot of options for this one, so I went with one that's been on my TBR for I think the longest, and it is Prince of Sorrows by Kellen Graves. This is a Fae MM romance. I believe it's about a human boy who ends up in the Fae realms. I don't know if he's like a changeling or what, but yeah, he ends up in the Fae realms and then meets, is he a prince, I think? Yes, the self-centered high prince. So I am very excited. I love the cover of this as well. Like this 100% was a cover buy for me. Like I saw this cover and I immediately wanted to read it. This has been sitting on my TBR for I think like 3 years maybe now, so I should probably read it. Prompt 19 is just to read 5 SSF short stories, so I haven't put anything in place for this. This will just be kind of as I go, like if there's any novellas and series I'm reading or whatever, I'm going to put it in there and count for that one. Prompt 20 is A Stranger in a Strange Land. It says read a book that deals with being a foreigner in a new culture, and I don't have the specific book in this series that I'm going to be reading, but it is book 7, I think, in the Every Heart a Doorway Wayward Children series by Shauna Maguire, which is Mislaid in Parts Half Known. This series is all about kids who end up going through magical doors into magical worlds. So yeah, they're all strangers in foreign magical lands, and I have, I think, 2 books to read in this series still. They're really short, they're little novellas, and I tend to just listen to these on audio. Something juicy just happened. Yeah, they're nice and quick, really short, and I really, really love this series. I know it's not for everyone. I've seen a lot of people who have been really disappointed in these books, but I really like them. I like the little kind of snippets that we get of all these magical fantasy realms. Prompt 21 is to recycle a bingo square. So use a prompt from a previous year's fantasy bingo board. I chose the horror square from the 2023 board because I've been kind of in like a horror spooky mood at the moment. So the book that I've chosen for the horror prompt is Strange Pictures by Akatsu. This one I bought pretty recently and I really want to read it because the synopsis of it sounds interesting in general, but it's got like illustrations throughout it, which is something that I always really like. This could have also, I guess, technically worked for the I hate that word, that prompt. But yeah, I'm very intrigued about this one because it just says a series of drawings made by a young woman before her death, a child's disturbing picture of his home, a desperate sketch made by a murder victim in his final moments. Each contains a chilling warning. Each reveals a terrible secret hidden in plain sight. So somehow all of these pictures are going to be connected. I don't know. I'm really, really intrigued about this one. And again, absolutely love the cover. Prompt 22 is cozy, so just any kind of cozy sci-fi fantasy. And for this one, I've gone with The Teller of Small Fortunes by Julie Leong. This is a beautiful fairy loot copy. And honestly, beyond it being cozy, I don't really know anything. This one says charming, relatable, and tender. A cozy fantasy about trying to find yourself and finding family instead. Perfect fans of Legends and Latte, Psalm for the Wild Built, and House in the Cerulean Sea. 2 of those I have read and loved. So I think this one, I think this has like potential to be a massive hit for me actually. Prompt 23 is a generic title, so it has to have one of the following words in the title: blood, bone, broken court, dark shadow, song, sword, or throne. So for this one, I have gone for Blood Mercy by Vila Roth. I have been so intrigued about this series for quite a long time because I love vampire books. Like, vampires are probably my favorite like mythical paranormal creature, and this is featuring vampires, but I've been told that it is a different kind of vampire story. So from what I've heard, the vampires are quite soft and gentle. Like, they're not, you know, bloodthirsty, terrifying creatures. They are peaceful and lovely. And I believe this is a woman who is in some way related to the king, I think, of her kingdom. And she gets involved with a high up vampire from another kingdom. And this one I think is going to be hit or miss for me, honestly. Like, because it says slow burn steamy romance meets classical fantasy world building in Bloodgrace, follow fated mates through their epic love story. So it has like the kind of hallmarks of everything that I will love in a series, but I think it was Becca from Becca and the Books read this first one and loved it, and then hasn't loved book 2, and I think she DNF'd book 3. So I don't know. I really want to love it because soft, sweet vampire boys and beautiful covers, like I want to love it so bad. Prompt 24 I think is a really cool one, and it is not a book. Do something new besides reading a book. Watch a TV show, play a game, watch a movie. So for this, I'm going to be putting in playing the new Dragon Age game, Dragon Age the Veilguard. I am a massive fan of the Dragon Age series. I have absolutely loved all the games that I have played in it, and I've been so hyped for this new one, and I got it on the last Steam sale. It is sitting in my library waiting to be played. Yeah, I'm really excited to play this, and I think it was really cool that they added in a prompt that's not specifically a reading prompt, so you get to experience fantasy in some kind of different medium. And finally, prompt 25 is Pirates. Read a book where characters engage in piracy. I didn't know that this book was pirate related, but apparently it is. And it's Chess of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This is one of his Kickstarter novels. It is a standalone in the Cosmere, and I feel like out of the 4 that he's released in this kind of little series almost, this is the one that I've heard by far the most things about. This, I remember when it came out, was on a lot of people's favourite books of the year. I think it is inspired by The Princess Bride, and I'm just excited to read it. It seems like it's a very different kind of direction for Sanderson to go in. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what he does with it, and apparently pirates. So that's cool. But yeah, those are all the books that I am anticipating reading for the Our Fantasy Bingo. These are definitely subject to change because this is an entire year's readathon. So, you know, some of these will 100% be getting switched out, but this is what I'm thinking of. All of these books are books that I'm really actually excited to read and really in the mood for. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please feel free to give it a like and subscribe if you feel like it. And hopefully I will see you in a new video again soon. Bye!